Carmine, I have realized something slightly alarming.
Please tell me it's not we have been wrong about heat pumps for 12 months.
No, worse. I think season 3 is actually just one story. Like we didn't plan it, but the episodes line up almost like chapters.
A whole arc?
Yeah, a whole arc with recurring characters, money, trust, systems, AI, and of course the planet's limits, plus cameos from bread and backyards.
Right, Brad. That was a strong character in the season.
Iconic, really. But the real hook is our season started with one question that quietly haunted everything after it.
And please say it.
And the question was, can we make money while saving the planet?
Yes, I think this is the question everybody and ourselves we ask in private.
Yes, exactly. So today, instead of a normal look back kind of episode, we are going to retell season 3 as if it was one coherent story. And at the end, we'll pull out what we learned and what we think comes next.
And we reference our guests along the way because they're basically the people who walk into the story, dropped a truth bomb, and walked out.
Let's do it.
Perfect. So, welcome to Sustainability Forward, the podcast where we try to bring clarity to the messy middle of sustainability.
I am Wrishi.
And I'm Carmine.
And this is our end of the year season 3 finale. 16 episodes, one storyline.
Wow, 16 episodes. If you are here, if you are new to this is a guided tour. If you have been here whole year, this is making a sense of what we learn in public.
So we began season 3 with Clemence Olivier from Swen Blue Ocean Fund. And it was, in a way, the perfect opener because it sets the rules of the world we are operating in.
Because sustainability can be moral, emotional, urgent, but the world still runs on incentives.
Now, Clemence gave us what that the grounded investor perspective. She told us how impact investment is not just in the vibes. She gave us the thesis, discipline, and repeatability.
Yeah, and remember that episode. I remember her talking about discipline, as you said, and her own journey was a narrative in itself, moving from traditional energy experience into purpose-driven investing, without pretending it's simple, because it's not.
It's not. The biggest takeaway for me was saving the planet isn't necessarily a separate economy. It is the economy, which means you need investment logic, not just good intentions.
And the episode leaves you with this tension that becomes our season engine. If sustainability is the future, why doesn't capital always move faster?
And indeed, that question becomes our plot.
Yeah. So then we did something that feels small until you think about it: home heating.
Yeah, the future of home heating is electric. That's what we learned with Sylvan. And heat pumps became our season's first real world hinge, including a real world example from your own home.
Yes, because if you can decarbonize heat, you don't decarbonize daily life.
Yeah, and the truth that kept coming up is that the technology is there, but adoption depends on everything around tech: installers, incentives, tariffs, consumer trust, grid readiness, and policy stability.
It's the first moment in the season we were really saw the partner. Solution exist, systems lag.
Right. And that becomes a recurring theme again and again. And then, if I remember correctly, we widened from the home to the continent with a discussion on Europe's energy transition, competitiveness versus reality check.
This was the episode where the messy middle showed up in full HD.
Exactly. Europe has ambition, as we know, but the conversation is shifting. It's not only how fast we can decarbonize, it's about how do we stay competitive while we do it.
Or stay competitive because we do it. So permitting, grid building out, industrial policy, energy prices, the speed of execution, for example.
Yeah. And what I liked is that we didn't do the simplistic narrative. It was not about Europe is winning or Europe is failing.
It's more like Europe is discovering the targets are easy, delivery is hard.
Yeah. And again, we are still chasing the same plot, incentives and systems. The transition is a strategy problem and an implementation problem.
Yes. Then we swung back from policy and competitiveness to something almost intimate.
Marjorie Wildcraft. And that episode was called From Backyard to Resilience.
This episode, other than changing my habitats for breakfast, is also a reminder that sustainability is only not just a grid and a balance sheet. It's also what can you do where you live with what you have in control.
And resilience becomes real when it's not a buzzword. It's food, skills, community, preparedness that doesn't feel like fear.
Yeah, it's also introduced an emotional layer to the season. People want a future that feels secure.
Exactly. People don't adopt transitions for abstract reasons. They adopt them because life has to feel better, safer, more stable. And then we moved into the communication side of things. So that brings us to trust and narrative. Helen Neal, in the episode Communicating Sustainability, how brands build trust and impact.
Yes, and we had many episodes talking about communication, but this one was one of the most practically useful episodes for leaders, honestly.
Yeah, because Helen's point was clear. Sustainability communication isn't just decoration, it's infrastructure.
If stakeholders don't trust you, don't get permission to move. If customers think you are greenwashing, your best initiatives becomes liabilities.
And I love how this episode quietly foreshadows later themes around methane verification, ESG backlash, capital markets disclosure, etc.
Because the world season keeps returning on the same truth, trust is the multiplier. And then we gave the season its most delicious chapter, as I said before. So with Maddie from Pacha Bread, we had an episode of bread soil and the climate story we can all taste. And this episode is brilliant because it turns climate from global models into your plate.
Right. Soil health, regenerative agriculture, supply chains, storytelling. Maddie gave sustainability a tangible angle.
And there is a deeper thread. If you can connect sustainability to daily life without guilt, you build momentum.
Also, bread is a gateway drug to systems thinking.
Yeah, that might be the most sustainability forward sentence ever, I would say.
Yeah. Quick interlude, Carmine. Personally, what changed in your own thinking this season?
And I think we moved from we need more solutions to we need more adoption. The gap isn't invention, isn't technology. We have proper technology to solve 80% of the problems there. As we said, the problem is on delivery.
Same on my side. And I also noticed I've become less patient with vague claims. I want proof, numbers, verification, but also I want stories people can actually hold on to.
Yeah. And this sets up to next act, innovation science and the system level reality check.
Yeah. And you remember we went into building, which with Josh Dorfman around sustainable entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it was a great chat. Josh is a great character in the story because he bridges storytelling and business building.
And I think he really drove home that for solutions to scale, they have to be desirable, not just less bad.
Yeah, they need to do their job. They need to be desirable, as you said. There is also a theme in the future under constraints, capital cost, customer acquisition, regulation, supply chains.
And it certainly links back to Clement's incentives again. If the markets reward the wrong things, the best solutions die quickly.
And then we had a professor joining, so a scientist, so Nicola Maroli, rethinking the energy transition.
Yeah, I thought Nicola's gift to us was honesty, not pessimism, honesty. I must underline.
He kept pulling us back to fundamentals, physics, thermodynamics, materials, time, scale. And now the energy transition is not just technical, it's societal.
And he's also a reminder that we need translators, people who can hold the complexity without turning it into either doom or hype.
It's a lot about storytelling. And that episode is a pivot. The story moves from we want this to here is what it will actually take.
Yeah, and then we probably took the most popular buzzword angle because we introduced the accelerant AI.
AI. AI as an acclimate ally is one of the episodes that lives in duality.
It does because AI can optimize grids, detect methane, improve forecasting, and reduce waste.
Yeah, so improves efficiency in many ways, but you also demand energy, demand water, and increase complexity, especially with data centers scaling up now.
For me, the key takeaway was AI amplifies intent. However, it doesn't replace governance.
And this becomes important later when we talk about trust and ESG, because AI can also amplify misinformation, greenwashing, or confusion if you are not careful. And then we hit the sobering chapter.
Planetary boundaries, one of our most downloaded episodes. And this episode is the moment the story becomes bigger than decarbonization
Yeah.
because it's not only lower emissions, it's almost like are we staying within a safe operating space for all of human civilization?
So we
Climate,
had
yeah, we had climate, biodiversity, freshwater, land systems, pollution. It's the full operating system.
yes, it's beyond decarbonization, as you said, but it's really a great framework because it gives us the most important elements to think about the planetary boundaries. It's also where the broader interest slows up on podcasts. Show up on podcasts. So biodiversity has been a recurring thread for you. You have done episode connecting big events and footprints like the Olympics. It's also this at setting the business case for biodiversity in earlier work.
Planetary boundaries gave us the container that makes all of those conversations feel like one picture. After the planetary boundaries episode, we zoomed out to scenarios using the BP Energy Outlook 2025 as a reference.
Yeah, this episode is that function like a seasons map.
Yeah, we talked about demand, pathways, what changes across scenarios, what's robust and what's uncertain.
And it links to everything, electrification, LNG roles, renewable skills, and the geopolitical reality that transitions doesn't happen in vacuum.
It's also where you get the messy middle in one sentence. the future is not one path. It's actually a set of choices.
Yeah. And now we get to the part where the story where trust stops being philosophical and becomes measurable.
Yeah, we spoke to George Tybosh from MIQ about methane verification, certification, and transparency.
Methane is often described as a quick win, but Georges pushes the deeper the issue. Markets can reward what they cannot trust.
Exactly. If MRV is weak, incentives break, and even well-intended buyers and investors end up flying blind.
And this episode also connects back to AI, methane detection, monitoring, satellites, analytics, but again, governance and credibility matter.
Then we stepped right into the culture war zone, which is ESG backlash, of which we've seen quite a lot this year.
Yeah, we talk with Scott Lane from Speaky.
And Scott's framing was sharp. ESG hasn't necessarily lost its way. It may have lost its courage.
Yeah, I remember this episode many times we talk about coverage, meaning lots of organizations do reporting theater. Fewer treat ESG as a management system.
And it connects back to Helen Neal. If your sustainability narrative is bigger than your operational reality, trust starts to collapse.
Yeah, this is one of the most boardroom chapter of the season. And then we brought the Mythbuster, Julia Binder.
Yeah, this episode is like cleaning the lens.
Yeah, because if leader believes something like sustainability is always more expensive, or customer doesn't care, or ESG is the same as impact, they design weak strategies.
Yeah, Julia gave us some language to separate confusion from reality.
It's a nice bridge between the cultural debate and the capital markets machinery, because myth busting is how you unblock action.
Then we went to the plumbing with Steve Rothstein from Ceres.
This is where our opening question returns as a system scale.
Mhm. Not can we make money, but how do we rewire risk, disclosure, incentives, fiduciary duty so capital moves at the speed we need?
Yeah, because capital markets don't run on moral urgency. They run on risk and return. So the question is how to make climate and natural risk investable realities, not footnotes.
And this also links back to our COP conversations in the broader podcast journey, even though we didn't do a COP episode this year. Like the episodes where we've unpacked what gets agreed, what gets implemented, and why finance and accountability are always the missing middle.
Exactly. Which take us to our final chapter, the storylines where transitions are most real.
And then we close the season with a story, honestly, that contains the entire season's thesis.
And I really love that you told this story from your experience, Rishi. So we talk about India and Pakistan. Same sun, different stories.
Yeah, we talked about decentralized solar, reliability, affordability, grid constraints, development priorities.
And it's the perfect ending because it forces humility. There isn't one transition, there are many transitions happening.
It also brings us back to the very beginning, incentives. In places where energy security is fragile and the incentive structure is different.
And the customer behaviors is different. So that's not a footnote. That's the main plot of the next decade.
Okay, Carmine. Quick lightning interlude. 3 moments from season 3 we won't forget. I'll go first. For me, the way Clemens made impact investing feel practical and not moralistic was a big takeaway for me.
For me, maybe the episode with Nicola Maroli, if you remember, was referencing when if you take an astronaut going to the space and then coming back after a few years, how do you see things differently from before COVID, or what is the world now after COVID?
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly even from the time we started this podcast, the conversation has changed dramatically. Of course, another big takeaway for me was the planetary boundaries, because it made the whole season feel bigger than just carbon.
And finally, for me, the Ellen Neal's reminder that trust is built in language before it's built in steel.
Yeah, that's a good one. So, what did we learn this season?
So let's do it as 5 lessons.
Sure. I'll say that incentives shaping outcomes is a major learning. I mean, capital matters, but so do policy, pricing, and real world friction. We also learned that trust is the multiplier. Without it, comms, methane, disclosure, everything starts to slow down. We learned quite a bit about systems and how they are the bottlenecks in this. For example, grids, permitting, skill availability, supply chains. The hard and boring stuff can also be very critical. I think one of the major learning also is that sustainability is bigger than climate. The planetary boundaries showed us that it is an unavoidable topic of discussion. And finally, we should also go back to the episode with Scott, where he says, courage is a strategy. It's not a personality trait. It's an operating choice for today's leaders, operating with sustainability as one of their major objectives.
And meta learning. The most useful sustainability conversation connect the household, the boardroom, and the planet without pretending they are the same problem.
So, Carmine, if we start looking ahead to 2026, what do you think 2026 demands?
Not an easy one, but I think 2026 is the year of proof over promises. So first, measurement and verification. Move from nice to have to price setting. If you can prove performances, you will get rewarded. If you can't, you will discount it. Second could be execution capacity, where it becomes the differentiator. Not who has the best target, who can actually build grids, electrified heat, industrial decarbonization, resilient supply chains. Third, AI meets energy realism. We're going to have more honest conversation about data centers, electricity demand, water, and governance. AI won't be judged only by what it can do, but how responsibly it can scale. Fourth, emerging markets become the center of gravity, not as a charity story, but a strategy story. And we talked in the last episode about Pakistan. That was a credible story. So growth, energy access, affordability, and climate outcomes converge there. And finally, trust and courage. Organization that treats sustainability as a strategy, not PR, will outperform. And leaders who can communicate trade-offs honestly will learn permissions to move faster.
And I think that's the headline: proof, delivery, and trust.
Exactly. And for the podcast, we'll keep doing what we do, bring the practitioners, go through the noise, and stay focused on the messy middle. So, if you enjoyed season 3, please subscribe. Wherever you listen, we are present in all the major platforms. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, on our new website, sustainabilityforward.com, because it generally helps more people finding the show.
And if you have a favorite episode, I certainly do, share it with one person who would appreciate it.
And I have many actually. But from both of us, thank you for listening.
Happy holidays, everyone.
And I'll see you in 2026.
Sustainability forward.
Forward.